All right, today we're going to get a little bit more tricky with advent of Neovim here with we are going to add to our slides the ability to sort of select a block of text and execute that program. So right now we're going to do that just with Lua. Maybe we'll extend it or you could extend it later. But the reason that I like this is because if I'm doing slides for Neovim things, like for me in my particular case, it's just cool to be able to take a code block and execute it. It's pretty easy to extend this with doing something else and capturing that output and putting it back in. But I just think this is pretty cool. So let's try this. Inside of a presentation slide, let's add a new field called block. And it's going to be some string, which is just like a code block inside of a slide. And let's actually make this a list of them because we might have more than one code block, right? It might be possible that you could have more. And so we'll just, for right now, we'll just capture and use the first one, but maybe you'd want to do this later. I don't know why in a presentation plugin you would have like 5 code blocks on one page. That's a bad slide. Pro tip, don't put that many things on one slide. You need to make those be different slides. Anyways, this is where we can go back to what we've done before with our specification. This is now going to fail in a moment after we add this concept of when we make a new slide here and we're right here, we're going to say block. Actually, let's change this to blocks now that I think of it. If we're gonna have multiple of them, we're gonna say blocks, and we also need to say this here. Blocks is this, okay? So this isn't this is now going to break our tests, right? When we run this, it says, hey, you said that blocks should be here, and it's not, so we need to add blocks like this, and we'll do the same thing down here because we haven't found any code blocks inside of here. Once we do that, we get passing on both of these. All right. So here's where things get a little bit trickier. Let's do something here where we grab this test and then we say let's say with one slide and a block. Okay. So now we have something like this. Let's go Lua, right? And we say print hi and then this. Okay. So what we expect to find right inside of this is obviously first we need to yoink these and put them inside of this body like this, right? And let's take this down here and go here like this. But now we also want to have inside of here, we want to have a string that says, and let's go ahead and make this like a multi-line string, Lua. We'll just do this. We'll go Lua, and then it should be something like print hi, and then another markdown block like this, right? So that's sort of what we're expecting to see here. And maybe it'd be actually easier if we just write this like this and we call vim.trim on this. Okay, so that should trim the white space. Now, when we run this, it's going to say, yo, dog, you said that the blocks should have something inside of it, but we do not have anything inside of this item. And this is where, honestly, it's probably a little bit easier to start writing something like this, where we say local result is this. We're going to parse this here, right? And then what do we want to do with this thing? We can assert maybe some like smaller items here. So like let's do equals, and let's say we can just take this title here and we can put, yank inside this. We'll put this here like this. We should say this is the first slide. And let's say local slide is results.slides1. And we also might want to say equals 1, the length of results.slides. So we're going to say, okay, should only have one slide. That's good. Whoops. Should only have one slide. Now, when we have that slide, we should say slide.title like this. And then let's just comment out. Let's just comment out the rest of this for right now. So when we run this, we get everything's passing. That's great. We should get as well. Let's go here and say, okay, equals, and we'll just paste. How do we want to write this? We'll write this is the body. Oh, well, we can just take this here and we'll say equals, and we'll put these strings inside of here, and this should be slide.body. Okay, so that's pretty easy. Yep, that still works. And now is where we want to say, okay, we've got this section here, so let's uncomment this section out like this, and then let's go local block is this. We'll delete this and bring this back over to here. and dedent this like this. Okay, so we should say equals block, and this is slide.block. Now this is block 1. There we go. Blocks.1. Okay, so now this is not going to work because we haven't put anything inside of blocks, right? So we're going to say expect the object to be the same, but we got nothing. We got nothing. So let's try and do this. The way that I think is probably actually easiest for this is we're going to, after we have all of our slides, I want to iterate over all of the slides and then check for different blocks. So let's do this. So we basically have something like for slide in, let's go iPairs, slides, right? Do end. And here's where inside of this loop, we're going to look for things that start with like a tick, tick, tick. Okay. And so we can do this by going local block, and that's going to be some empty string, right? And we can then take this, we're going to insert these in here. So we're going to go for line in iPairs slide.body, right? So we're going to look for each of them. And here's where we're going to start looking for a block and then end looking for a block. So maybe, I think probably the easiest way for this is we'll just do this. So let's go if line, and we can go vim.starts with line, and we can say something like tick, tick, tick. Yeah, because that's going to be the starts with there. Then end. So now we're going to start putting all of these things inside of the block. So let's go local inside block is false. So we'll go if inside block. Oh, we'll start with if not, because that's the easier condition, right? We're going to say, all right, what are we going to do? We're going to start saying inside block is true, and we'll start going block is block line and a new line, right? So this is like, okay, so we have our block, and we're going to append to this block and then put a new line here. Else, so once we get to the end of this, then we're going to say inside block is false. We're going to still do this. So actually, we can go both of these here. Is there anything different about this? Oh, right. Okay, yeah, of course. If we do this, right, then we need to also say that we have a new block. So this needs to be table insert slide blocks, right, because this is from the current slide. And what are we going to put inside of it? We're going to insert this block and then reset the block to be equal nothing. Whoops, block equals nothing. So that's not quite right now. So we should probably put this here. And then we'll put this here. We need to do this right before this. This. All right, and then we're going to reset the block. So let's just go back and see if I wrote that first try. I don't know. Let's see. Okay, so we missed. Oh, right. I wasn't thinking. We need to go if inside block, then... and we need to actually append this current line, right? So this is like else. If inside block, then we need to go block is block, line, new line. We were so close to first trying this, right? So this is like saying, okay, we are inside of a current Markdown block, but it is not one of the guards. So insert this text, right? So that's fine. Now when we switch back to here and we run this, we get print hi, and we have an extra new line. So once we're done with this, I think it might be kind of nice, just so that we can do this, is let's call vim trim on this so that we don't have a bunch of extra white space for those. Boom. Okay, awesome. So now we have a block of text, and we even know we know what's sort of like inside of here. So one thing that might be nice is maybe blocks, right? If we think about the block type here, block, maybe we should change this to present.block like this, right? And you're saying, okay, we haven't built that type yet. That's true. Let's give ourselves a new type here at class present.block. And let's have a new type here. So let's say language is a string, the language of the code block, right? And then now we can also have field, and we can have body string, and that's going to be the body of the code block. So we actually don't need to now, if we think about doing it this way, we can go back to where we were writing this for blocks. And instead of just having one big string where we keep track of these ticks, we're not going to do this anymore. We're going to get whatever is on the rest of the line. So we can go, we'll change this block to be like this. It's going to be different. It's going to be different. It's okay. And what we're going to do inside of here is we can go block.language is equal to, and we want to find string sub. We want to take the line, and we want to search for 4 to the end. Now, we'll check and see if this works. We don't need this. We'll say table insert slide.blocks, and we'll just take this block and put it here. Okay, right? And so each block should be something like language is nil. Right now, that's fine. And we'll say body is some empty string. Okay? So what do we want to do inside of here? We're going to say block.body is block.body with the new line inside of here. And then when we're done, yeah, we'll just also mention block.body is vim.trim block.body. This will get rid of extra white space inside of here that we don't want to manage. So if we go back to our test now, this is going to run and it's going to say, yo, you tried to compare a string with something that's print hi and language Lua. That's not right. Thank you, tests. You're right. I didn't do that correctly. This is actually a little bit easier to test as well now because we can say something like this block should be actually something like language is Lua and body is print hi. Like this. And if we run this, sweet. Now we have everything working. So now we have the code blocks in a data structure we can actually manage. And here's why we wrote it this way. So now what happens is inside of our key maps here for presenting key maps, I'm going to make a new key map, present key map, that actually executes the current thing. So I'm going to call it capital X. You can call it something else if you want. It's your plugin. Do what you like. And what I want to do is I want to say, okay, what is our current slide? Well, local slide is state.parsed, right, dot slides, and then state.current slide. Okay, so now we have our current slide. An easy thing for us to do right now might be to do something like vim.print slide. Okay, so let's say we run this and let's open up, let's open up our README file and see what our, that's current buff is 1. Okay, so let's go to here and let's say present right here and let's execute this file. And if we press capital X, we'll see sure enough, it doesn't have any blocks. It does have a body and here's its title. Okay, what if we're right here? Now we have a code block, we press capital X, and sure enough, we've got a body. Here it is right here, and language Lua. So let's give ourselves an example of something where we could say like features, because this is a cool feature. And we could say something like can execute code in Lua blocks when you have them in a slide. And then let's go Lua here, and we could say print hello world 37. I don't know, something like this, right? And if we go back to here, we execute this, we press N, we're on this file, we press capital X, and we get this print hello world. Oh, it is so sweet when everything comes together, right? Instead of now just printing this, which obviously isn't really what we want to do, we could actually just do something like, I think the easiest way is to just call load, which takes a string, or we could call load string, and we get a string, and then we can execute this. So let's try and do for now. So to do, make a way for people to execute this for other languages. We'll come back to that. But for now, we can go something like local block is slide dot blocks 1. If not block, then we can just do something like then print no blocks on this page. Return end. All right. Otherwise, we're going to go local, we'll say chunk is load string, and we'll say block.body. And then we can just go chunk like this and execute it. Okay. Let's see what happens when we do this. I go to this slide, I press capital X, and it says hello world 37. It gets printed right there. Okay, that's cool. Obviously, because we didn't have to like select anything. You know what I mean? We just press X on the slide. If we press X here, it will also do that, which is a little bit weird because we were inside of a presentation already. We go here, we press X, and it says no blocks on this page. Wonderful. We go to the next one, we press X, it says hello world 37. Can we make this cooler though? Yes. This part is I would say like, I don't know, mildly goofy, but it's okay. What I want to do here is I want to override the default print function to capture all of the output. Okay. The reason that I want to do this is because I'm going to put this into a nice little buffer that goes inside, but I don't want to have to change anything that we did. And so I don't want to go through this because this is a little bit goofy and it's a little bit long. I'm going to walk you through this, but this is something that I wrote for my original plugin. And so how are we going to do this? The first thing is we store the original print function. Then we have some output that we want to print to. And now we redefine what the print function actually is. And basically what we do is we get all of these options and we put them into the output. And so what's cool is we have this block. Well, we already actually have this. We don't need to write this because I actually improved this a little bit more. And we don't need to do this or this. We can just say for this in the lines here, what are we going to do? We're going to actually, let's not do this either. We can put this here, table.concat block with new lines. Well, we don't need to do that. We already have the block as a string. So we actually already have the function here, which is this this chunk right here. So we'll put this right here. We'll put this down here, and we'll just go chunk like this, and we don't need to do that. Okay, so this is going to call the provided function. We're going to put all of the options inside of this print. So when print gets called, instead of doing the normal print shenanigans, we're going to actually put the values inside of this table. All right, so let's walk through again just so you understand. Save the original print function. Then we're going to make an output table. Print, instead of calling print, it's going to put stuff inside of our output table. So when we execute this function, it's going to make sure that anywhere we had print actually puts the results back inside. And then we need to restore print when we're done because, you know, we don't really want to just like override the global print value forever. That would be kind of a shame. But we need one more thing. We need to actually open up a temporary floating window. And so we need to do something like vim API nvim open win. And let's just do something like we need to make a new buffer. Vim. We can just go ahead and basically take this idea here. And because what we need to do here is create a new buffer. We're going to create a buff like this. We do want to enter this, and here's our config. And we're going to do something like editor. A relative is editor. We want to say style is minimal. We want to say row is let's just go ahead and let's take some of the ideas that we had from before, which is we can just go like width is vim.o.lines vim.o.columns times 0.8, and we'll just math.floor this. And we can do the same thing for height. And then once we have those two, width and height, we can say, okay, fine. We'll go here. We'll say local width is this. We'll say temp width and temp height. Instead of columns, we'll go rows here. I did that wrong anyways, so that's funny. And then we can say width is temp width, and this is temp height. And then we can say row is temp width temp height vim.o.rows minus this divided by 2. And we can math.floor this as well. And then we can do the same idea here, but instead of rows, we're going to do columns and minus temp width. Like this. And so once we have this, I think, let's go ahead and execute this. Go to here, press X, unknown option rows. What did I say instead? Rows. Oh, this is lines. I do this every time. Sorry. Lines. We're here. We press X on this one, and we get a window. Awesome. And then we can quit out of this. So once we've made the window, vim API nvim buff set lines, we'll say buff, and we'll say 0, -1, false, and then we'll say output like this. So now when we go here and we press this, code, we get the output right here. Awesome. Awesome. The only other thing that we might want to do is we might want to put inside of here, inside of this code right here, is we could go something like vim.list extend output and vim.split block on new lines. So this should, we already did get the block. Block dot body like this. So now when we do this and we go here, we get what the code is right here, and then we get the output right here. And so that's pretty nice. We can start extending this with a few more options here as well by maybe doing vim bo buff buff dot file type is markdown. And then if we instead put something like we can go tick 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 block dot language, and then we end this with table insert output closing ticks like this, and we execute this now. Now we'll get our nice code showing up as Lua, and then here's our output, which is hello world 37. If we went back to here and we said true or something like this, right? We go back to here, we execute our slides. Sweet, we're inside of here. We press execute. We'll get the updated here, and we'll get the output here. So that's really nice if you're thinking about for like a presentation. You want to be able to iterate through your slides. Iterate through your slides like this. Whenever you see like a code block, you could imagine extending this to Python and then like shell out to Python, get the results, put it in, press X, boom, and now you have the results. So that's pretty cool, I think, because you can really like show live what is happening inside of your presentation. And this is just to start showing that like once you have these building blocks and once you have these items, right, then you can actually super easily extend it to your own ideas. If not chunk, then we want to go then end, and we can insert into here broken code, right? That would be like this, something like this. It's broken. Else call chunk. Okay, awesome. So this idea here, you could just change this to be some other way of executing this, right? If you had like a Python one, you could do Python, blah, blah, blah. But I think that this idea is quite cool, and it works quite nice for doing the different plugin specifications that you might want to do. So all that being said, that's kind of, I just wanted to show iterating through that like manually, how you might get to that point. And yeah. The last thing that I did want to show, though, that we need to be thinking about is when we actually run this and we open this up, we close our presentation because we've entered a new folder. So we need to add one thing here, which is no auto command is true. This means, hey, when we enter this, don't actually fire the auto commands for leaving where we were at, because it's kind of like a temporary situation. And I would also want to add maybe like a border is rounded here to give us a little bit more kind of like depth on this. So when we press this, now we get this floating here. We can quit this window, and now we're back to our presentation. So I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to show for creating this little like executable block. If you think it's really cool, maybe we'll come back to this after advent of Neovim and show how you could extend this for like Python or something else, and maybe even how you could do config. That might be what we end up doing. So hopefully you like this one. I know it's a little bit more like long-winded, I guess, than some of the other ones we've done for advent of Neovim, but yeah, I just think that it's pretty cool that we can sort of dynamically and live execute the code inside of our Neovim presentation, and it's like quite simple overall to add this as an option. So anyways, if you like this, let me know. I'll see you guys later. Have a good advent. Bye.